Most people don't stay broke because of one or two big mistakes, but it's the tiny little habits that they're repeating without even realizing. That's what's preventing most people from ever making any progress financially. The worst part is that many of these have been normalized in our society, so most people never realize the issue. So before it's too late, here are the 8 tiny habits that might be keeping you broke. Number 1 is sweating over the small things, or like the saying, to be penny wise and pound foolish. Now, I've been guilty of this too, even recently. As a frugal guy, I'm always looking for ways that I can save money. So if I ever needed to buy something, I would always try to find the cheapest way for me to get it. Recently, I was looking to renew my ChatGPT Plus subscription, and since I moved to Bali, Indonesia, I thought that would be a cheaper option to get it based here in Indonesia. So I was tinkering around with it, switching my VPN locations to compare how much it would be in Indonesia versus the US. And I ended up spending almost half an hour going down this rabbit hole and reading Reddit posts about how people are subscribing from different countries. And that's when I caught myself and I snapped myself out of it. I realized, what the heck was I doing? I mean, yeah, sure, I could probably end up saving like $5 if I did manage to figure it out. But I was wasting time, energy, and attention towards saving this $5 where I could have been using that same time on a higher leverage task for my business to make me far more than the $5 that I could save. So if you ever find yourself spending too much time sweating over finding the best possible discounts to squeeze every single time, ask yourself if that's really the best use of your time. I mean, of course, I'm not telling you to be careless with your money and just spend it without consideration, like how some people keep unused subscriptions to apps or streaming services they don't even need. But in this case for me, an AI tool like this would help me tremendously in my work and business, so paying that extra $5 isn't that big of an issue for the value that I get out of it. Another thing that I've seen people do that doesn't make sense to me is to obsess over collecting airline miles. Sure, who doesn't love free flights and business class upgrades? But there are those people that make it almost their life's mission to track all of their credit card miles and points, and they even have spreadsheets for it. So while those people might argue that since they're going to be spending that money anyway, might as well get the best return. But to me, I feel that it's not worth putting too much of your attention and energy towards something like that, when you could be working on activities that could make you more money and just easily pay for the flight upgrades anyway. But having said that, I personally do use credit cards to collect miles. The only difference is I don't ever obsess on maximizing the number of miles and points that I get to collect. My point is, playing this miles game really takes a lot of focus and attention, and that same focus could be put towards much better, more high leverage things in my opinion. On a similar note, the second tiny habit that keeps people broke is not protecting their time. This one sounds harmless when your friends ask you to hang out, catch up, and chill, and you might just say yes because it feels normal. But if you're broke, your free time is your most valuable asset, because your time is the only thing that you can use to turn into future income. So once I realized this, I became extremely selective with who I gave my time and energy to, and I would turn down requests from people to catch up or hang out unless I knew that I would truly get value from the time that I spend with them. And here's one thing that I've learned from my experience in business partnerships and dealing with people. See, there are obvious time wasters, people who just want to party, spend money, and do nothing productive. Those are easy to spot. But the more dangerous ones are the ones who sound ambitious. They talk about business, they talk about ideas, and they have all these big plans. But there's never any real action. You would see them years later still in the same place. So you leave those conversations feeling as if you did something productive, but it's just an illusion because nothing actually moved forward and you just wasted your time. And protecting your time isn't just from other people, but it also matters how you spend your time when you're alone. For example, if you tell yourself, I'll just sit on the couch and scroll for 10 minutes, then before you know it, an hour would have passed, and now you're tired and unfocused and you got nothing done. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I have been guilty of this too for so many years, and it's something I'm actively working on, where if I want to doom scroll on my phone, I make sure to spend at least 30 minutes to an hour doing deep work on a task that I have to do for my business, and then I'd allow myself to scroll for maybe 30 minutes or so. The saying time is money sounds really cliche, but your time today is what creates your money tomorrow. So if you waste it, you're not just losing time, you're losing your future potential income. Now, another tiny habit that keeps most people broke without them realizing it is when they think in terms of monthly payments and not how much the total cost of something is. This is very common when buying a big ticket item like a car, where the car dealerships often try to direct your focus towards the small monthly payments and not have you look at the actual total cost. But it also applies to smaller items like people who upgrade their phone each year through things like the iPhone upgrade program that Apple offers, where you can get the latest iPhone for just as low as $42 a month. And they've even designed it in a way that you can upgrade to a brand new phone as long as you made 12 payments for your previous phone. All you got to do is just trade your phone in and start a new plan. But when you do this, you'd end up being perpetually in debt and just have to make these payments for years. And the worst part is, you basically just end up renting the phone and never owning it. Because think about it, if you paid those payments for 12 months, then you trade your phone back in to upgrade. When you give your phone back and start a brand new loan again, then all those payments were almost for nothing, and you basically just paid to use the phone only for a year. When you trade your phone directly with Apple, you're forced to accept their valuation of how much your phone is worth. Versus if you sold it yourself to a third party, then you could often get more for it. Now, I'm not saying you should never upgrade your phone, but what I do is I'd only upgrade once every 3 to 4 years. At the very least. Only when my phone's really not functioning as well as it once did, or the features of the new phone has advanced significantly enough to justify the upgrade. Even then, I'd pay for it in full and then sell off my old phone to a third-party dealer to get the most value for it. The big problem with things like this where you use financing to buy stuff is that you lock your future income, where every month you owe money before you even earn it. And once you stack a few of these with phone upgrades, subscriptions, and other things you finance, then your future income is already spent. Plus, it normalizes lifestyle inflation where you're always used to having the latest iPhone, always used to paying monthly payments. And that mindset spills into everything else, which would never let you ever make any sort of progress financially. It's usually the same type of people who think this way that also avoid looking at their finances, which is the fourth habit that keeps many people broke. And that is to avoid even looking at their bank statements. Let's be honest, we've all felt this, where there are times you avoid checking your bank account balance, not because you forgot to, but because you just don't want to have to see it and face it. It can be really unpleasant to look at when the balance amount is not what you want it to be. Then that affects how you'd feel for the rest of the day. I know I have, because you already have a rough idea of what the balance is, obviously being lower than what it should be or what you want to have. And so instead of facing it, you just delay and avoid looking at it altogether. But the danger when it comes to this is that life goes on and you're gonna have to keep spending money, even if it's only on your most essential necessities. So avoiding your bank account doesn't protect you, it just removes awareness. And when you lose awareness, you lose control. You don't catch the bad habits or find patterns that could actually lead to you making a change. So instead, when you learn to confront it head on and face the reality, it could actually be a powerful source of motivation to finally get your ass up and get to work on whatever it is that you've been procrastinating to help you make more money. This is similar to the next money habit that keeps people broke, which is to check prices of things when you buy them, but never checking your total spending. So a lot of people tend to only look at the price of individual things like a $5 coffee, a $12 lunch, or a $20 delivery. So each of these things individually doesn't feel that expensive. So you don't think twice when making these purchases. This becomes a problem because you'd end up training yourself to evaluate money in isolation, one purchase at a time. And so this way, each decision feels harmless. People rarely become broke because of one major huge mistake or an ultra large expense. It's usually through these little things where you tell yourself, oh, it's just $5 or it's just $20. It's not that much. But what's key is that you need to zoom out and ask yourself, how much did you spend this week, this month, and how much of that were on things that you didn't even really need? Because when you do that, then you'd see the truth, which is those small expenses aren't really that small after all because they add up quickly. Even for me, and I consider myself to be a pretty frugal guy, like I don't ever really buy anything. But sometimes when I look at my credit card statements, I'm shocked at the expenses that I've incurred. So I make it a point now to always review my expenses every few weeks, if not at least every month. Okay, the next point might sound like I'm contradicting myself because on this channel, we talk about how to become better with money, and saving money is a major part of it. But if you're only trying to save and you're not focused on trying to earn more, this is definitely a habit that's gonna keep you broke. Because if you spend all of your energy trying to reduce your expenses by finding cheaper options, it'll feel productive, like you're doing the right thing, because you are. But saving money is only half of the equation. Becoming rich and achieving financial freedom involves different sort of levers that you gotta pull. And yes, saving money is one of the levers, but an even more important lever is increasing your income, because there's a limit to how much you can save, right? Think about it. If you had a salary of $5,000, and even if you were somehow able to save every single penny of it, that would still be only $5,000 at the end of the day. People often get stuck because they become obsessed with saving small amounts while completely ignoring their ability to earn more. So if you saved, let's say $5, it'll feel good, it'll feel like progress, but it's not gonna move your life forward in a meaningful way. Versus if you could make an extra $500 or $1,000, then that changes everything. Increasing your income requires a whole different mindset because it is uncomfortable. You'd have to learn new skills, take risks, and just put yourself out there. So at some point, you have to stop asking yourself, just how can I spend less? But instead, ask yourself, how can I start earning more? Now, the next habit that keeps most people broke is rewarding yourself too often. The key here is it being too often. Look, there's nothing wrong to treating yourself to something nice every now and then, but when it becomes too frequent, then that's when it becomes a problem. If, say, you had a long day, or even if you had a good day, then you might tell yourself, maybe I deserve a treat. Or if you did something slightly productive, and then you tell yourself you deserve a treat for that, then at some point, everything becomes a reason to spend money, and you end up training your brain to associate any emotion with buying something. If you're stressed or bored, or even if you're happy, we've been conditioned to think that retail therapy is a thing and that is normal. And it feels harmless because each time it could be just a small reward. But this is how habits form. Like if you went to the gym once or completed a task, you can't immediately think to yourself, oh, I deserve a reward for myself now. And even if you do, the rewards don't need to be anything that involves spending money. It could be just treating yourself to an hour of doom scrolling on TikTok or watching Netflix on the couch. Like, at least that's a little bit more sustainable and wouldn't hurt your financial future. All right, moving on. The next habit that keeps most people broke and in fact is guaranteed to remove any chances of success is having shiny object syndrome. I know many people suffer from this, and I've been guilty of it too in the past, where you keep going from one business idea to the next, where at the beginning you get all excited, then a few months or even a few weeks after, you forget about it, and then you move on to the next thing, the next side hustle, the next opportunity. This is tricky because at first it feels like you're being productive, you're exploring and trying new things, right? But in reality, you're just resetting your progress over and over again because every time you switch, you go back to zero. Here's the key to success I wish someone had told me years ago. Success doesn't come from starting things. It comes from staying, from being consistent, even after the initial excitement fades. If you can stay long enough, day in, day out, to get good, to make progress, and then see the results. I've seen many people like this. They start an e-commerce store, and then they get into a different business, and then 6 months later, yet another one. Think about it. Have you heard of the guy who got rich drop shipping while running a marketing agency, and who also day trades, and who also runs a brick and mortar business? Obviously not, because it's not possible. Success takes focus. So if you have an idea, then stick with it and lock in for at least 6 months or a year minimum to make sure you've actually given it a real fair shot at success. See, none of these habits on its own feel like a big deal, and that's exactly why it's dangerous, because it's never gonna be one big mistake that keeps you broke. It's the small decisions that you make repeatedly that's going to chip away at your financial future. So if you're someone who's serious about improving your financial situation, make sure to watch this video to see the 7 habits that will help you become financially free. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. For now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.